Hi, I wanted to give a quick update on the Long Covid Handbook, talk about what's in it, what our hopes are for the book, and answer some of your questions about it. So let's dive straight in. It's going to be released on the 20th of October as a paperback, ebook, and audiobook. A link to all of those available to pre-order is in the description. The audiobook will be narrated by me and Danny, and we've already started recording that, which is pretty exciting. At the moment, we're finalising the text and the diagrams, and then it'll be going off to the printers. So what's in it? Well, if you'll excuse me, pull it up. Here is the most recent proof. Obviously, the actual book is going to be a little bit more wieldy than this, but let's take a look at the chapters. I'm not going to talk you through all of them right now, but give you a bit of an idea about what's in a couple of them. Let's start with Chapter 3, Can Children Get Long Covid? Well, of course we know they can, although it's still a subject that's widely disregarded by the media and government. So what do we cover in the book? First of all, how does long Covid present in children, and is it different from adults? Danny talks about the precedent for long-tail viral conditions in children and young people, and what we can learn from the consequences of other viruses, particularly EBV. With the enormous help of Sammy McFarland from Long Covid Kids, we then address what the challenges are for children with long Covid. And even aside from the healthcare needs, those challenges are numerous, from going to school to socialisation and psychology. We also address the challenges for parents of children with long Covid and give advice on how parents can manage the extremely difficult job they've got. And finally then, we look at what we know about recovery and what we can learn from other conditions. This is a really heavy-hitting chapter and spells out just how difficult long Covid is for children and young people. And I would say it's probably one of the chapters that I'm most proud of in the book. And then let's talk about a couple of chapters that come as a pair, chapters 4 and 5, where Danny and I attempt to make the most comprehensive breakdown anywhere of what we know and what we don't about the pathophysiology of long Covid. In Chapter 4, we talk at length about each of the possible causes of long Covid itself, a list that's expanded a little over time to include organ damage, immune system dysregulation, autoimmunity, microbiome malfunction, reactivated latent viruses, viral debris, and our old friend, the ever more pertinent question of viral persistence. Danny and I investigate each one of these one by one, looking at the evidence for each and which are the most likely contenders. And of course, we may well be looking at several of these causes being involved. In Chapter 5, we go one stage down in the causality chain to the physiological processes that researchers have observed to be going wrong in long haulers. So one by one, we break down the evidence for each of the following: dysfunctional metabolism, dysfunctional mitochondria, microclotting and hypoperfusion of tissues, endotheliitis, abnormal inflammatory function, MCAS, antiphospholipid antibodies, small fibre neuropathy, overactive microglia, and organ damage. We don't yet have all the answers for what's causing long Covid, but I'd like to think that Danny and I have put together the most complete jigsaw puzzle yet seen for the condition, which will hopefully spur future research to fill in the gaps and opportunities that we've highlighted. So let's jump into some of your questions, which will also help give you an insight into what else is in the book. So the first question is, are there any chapters which are particularly relevant based on where readers are in their long Covid journey? Well, yes, absolutely. The first two chapters are a crash course in everything we know about the condition, and many people who are new to it will find those absolutely invaluable. Chapter 7 on the impact of long Covid on your mental health will be of huge importance to anyone in the first year of the condition still struggling with the inevitable feelings of denial, bargaining, anger and grief. And I talk about this emotional journey itself in Chapter 12, complete with a selection of stories from long haulers, which will hopefully give some hope to sufferers at any stage that the part of the ride they're on right now isn't necessarily permanent. Which leads me into the next question. What's new in the book for those of us who have been suffering for over 2 years? Well, as far as I know, we've never seen the complexity of the condition brought together into one accessible guide and resource, particularly from the potentially disparate perspectives of the immunology professor and the patient. Because right now we're at an almost unprecedented phase in the development of our knowledge and understanding around the condition, where there is this tension between patients who've become experts and the medical establishment who are struggling to catch up with a novel condition. And this book will give you an insight that I don't think you'll find anywhere else into how and why research happens and what it's going to take to finally produce the magic pill we've all been waiting for. And on a more direct level, the chapter on how to get your GP and healthcare system to help you is completely new, and I've not seen this level of insight or detail anywhere else. This chapter was written with the help of GPs on both sides of the Atlantic who have long COVID themselves, and is full of absolutely superb advice. Also in this chapter, how do we help the people around us understand what we're going through, and how much better would our lives be if they got it? Not long COVID, obviously, but what it means to have this condition. And I've never seen this covered in quite this way anywhere else. One other thing that's new in this book is gender bias, with a particular emphasis on long COVID and ME/CFS. Over 70% of long haulers are women, and historically they've faced significant bias in healthcare settings, especially when suffering from chronic illness. So how do we challenge that? And how do women get better care, particularly in the context of long COVID? I've not seen this covered anywhere else. And of course, given that this is a resource that brings together everything we've learned since early 2020 into one place, I can almost guarantee that there'll be something in here that maybe you missed at the time or have since forgotten, that you could integrate into your management of the condition that could make a huge difference in your quality of life. So that's rather a long answer, and I've not really scratched the surface actually, but to answer your question, yes, there is quite a lot that's going to be new in here, even if you've been suffering with the condition for over 2 years. Next question, will the book help patient care? Well, I think there's two sides to this. First of all, how do we help the patient get the best out of the healthcare system? And then how do we educate healthcare professionals themselves? And there is a specific section here with advice directly for GPs. Also, there's extensive information in the treatment chapter on well-evidenced treatments that can be prescribed to handle symptoms, even if we don't have RCTs for long COVID specific treatments themselves yet. Next question, should one attempt intentional movement? How do you weight the risks of PEM versus establishing the size of your energy envelope? This is something I address in Chapter 9. There are excellent strategies around pacing, PEM detection and managing the good day, bad day conundrum, which will give you the best chance of living life as fully as you can without crashing soon after. Any hints or tips on how to manage the condition? Well, yes, there's a whole chapter on that. And I would have thought that even if you're pretty good at following all the advice that's been sort of developed for long haulers in my last sort of 2 or 3 years and 30 years worth of ME/CFS advice, there'll be little nuggets in here that you can integrate into your management of the condition that can make a huge difference. Next question, how do we encourage psychologists to help with coping strategies and manage the grief and uncertainty of the condition without making it into a psychological condition? Well, this is a very good question. I've kind of got 2 whole chapters on the emotional and psychological effects of the condition, along with, 2 whole chapters on the physiological pathology of the condition. So I would hope that between those 2, we can try and get some sort of understanding that yes, it is a physiological condition where there are some very biological, physiological processes going wrong, but at the same time, there is a huge degree to which our emotional state can drive symptoms by sending us into a state of sympathetic overdrive and dysautonomia, and managing the emotional side of this journey is also incredibly important to keeping ourselves afloat, both in terms of mental health and managing symptoms, especially the dysautonomic ones. So I would hope that between these chapters in the book, there's a lot in there for psychotherapists and psychologists to get more of an understanding about just how complex the condition is. Next question, how will we keep the book relevant with new research emerging all the time? Well, we've tried to keep the book as absolutely up to date as it possibly can be. The recent study from Akiko Iwasaki and David Petrino's team has been mentioned in the book because it was so good. But of course, once the book is printed, new research will indeed come out. So clearly the way to resolve this is with 2nd and 3rd editions, which hopefully will get the chance to release as the research moves on significantly. And finally, how did this work affect my own long COVID journey? Did I have to push through and crash a lot? So the answer to that is it was a challenge. It really, really was a challenge. And there were some very difficult weeks where there were deadlines and you have to meet the deadlines. And normally pre-long COVID, you can just work longer, work harder, do an all-nighter if you need to. But the elasticity of the working day just simply isn't there with long COVID. It's about, between 30 and 50% as long as a normal working day, and you're obviously less productive in that time. And there's no room for pushing over, because then you'll crash and then you'll be able to do even less. So yeah, it has been a real challenge, but I'm very proud of the results. And I really hope that it can help a lot of people once it gets published and you all can listen, read, or take some part in one of the various forms of the book. So there's a quick overview of the book. I'll be making another film shortly before publication where I talk to Danny. So if you have any particular questions for him, then please do put them in the comments and I'll see if I can ask them to him and put them into that film nearer the time. So look after yourselves. Until next time.